Hey guys, Andy here from Mediocre Hobbies, bringing you another video in the Space Marine Chronicles. So in this series of videos, I give you a little bit of background and history on a Space Marine chapter that I find quite interesting. And in the video, I also show you how to paint one up. So the idea behind this series is to shed some light on some lesser known Space Marine chapters. And hopefully, if you find them interesting with the stories and background that I give you, the information in the video will also help you be able to paint some up if you so choose to collect that chapter. I think we've got about 12 in the series so far, so there's quite a lot of videos to go back and check out if you haven't seen any of them so far. And the one we're going to be tackling today was originally a White Dwarf article. It's actually two White Dwarf articles, and in each of those White Dwarf articles, they got given their own transfer sheet. So the first one was an infantry transfer sheet, and the second one was a vehicle transfer sheet. They gave a whole host of background information, lore, story, and everything else to basically learn about this chapter and how to paint them up. Now, the painting articles that they gave you are awful. I don't know what it is, but I more and more find myself being confused by the painting articles that Games Workshop bring out. It almost feels like they are setting us up to fail. The articles are so complicated, there's so many paints to use, so many tricky steps that I know as a painter, people are going to find just really irritating, which is going to turn them away from continuing that force and getting those armies painted. So hopefully in today's video, I will show you a very fast, simple, and effective way of painting some Tome Keepers. So stick around guys and enjoy this video. Okay, as per usual, we are going to be using a standard tactical assault marine, tactical assault intercessor should I say, to be the basis for this painting tutorial. Like I said before, I love using these miniatures as they are nice open posed and they are great to use for thingies. So the first thing that I forgot to do, which is what I'm going to mention now, is this is Skeleton Horde contrast. I don't know why I forgot to hold up the pot of Skeleton Horde. I think it's the only time I make that mistake in this particular video. Before I get into kind of the lore and the background, Tome Keepers, if anyone wants to follow along, this is Skeleton Horde contrast applied over the armor. Okay, the Tome Keepers. Let's get into them, what they are, where they come from, and a little bit of their cool story. The Tome Keepers are a loyalist Space Marine chapter and successor of the Ultramarines. Raised in the 4th founding shortly after 546.M32, they called the desert world of Istroma in the Segmentum Pacificus home. With tactical precision and fearless resolve do the Tome Keepers wage war on the enemies of the Imperium. They fight not just with sacred bolter and honoured blade, but with the accumulated knowledge of eons etched in their minds. For they believe that only through truth and understanding can they finally defeat humanity's many foes. Every battle is meticulously planned, every foe tactically analysed, and every ally carefully scrutinised to ensure that victory is achieved in the most efficient manner possible. Then, when battle is won and the fallen counted, all are recorded once again, the better to serve the Tome Keepers in their next war. Okay, let's get into a little bit of where they came from. So, the origins of the Tome Keepers harken back to the tumultuous middle centuries of the 32nd millennium, following the disastrous events of the War of Beasts, when the Imperium was nearly brought to its knees by the largest orc Waaagh seen by mankind since the Ullanor Crusade during the Great Crusade. Now, I have read the series The Beast Arises, which is a series of 12 small novels that Games Workshop brought out to explain that history. So if you do want to know more about the War of the Beasts, I thoroughly recommend those 12 books. They're only like 250, 300 pages a piece, so they're not like full novels. They're brilliant, and they tell that story like amazingly. Like the fact that they mention that now, like it gives me weight to the understanding of what they mean by the galaxy was nearly brought to its knees, because it was. Okay, soon after the great conflict with the Xenos ended, following a period of mandatory gene tithing by the surviving chapters of the Adeptus Astartes to help rebuild the stores of gene seed kept by Adeptus Mechanicum, the 4th founding was raised. For nearly a standard century, the Imperium had descended into a period of anarchy and infighting. The newly created chapter of this founding were raised to help restore order to the Imperium rife with civil upheaval and insurrection. Gene seed was taken out of cryo storage and new samples received from all of the exact chapters. It was from the Ultramarines gene stock that chapter 281, later to be known as the Tome Keepers, was born. As with most newly crafted chapters, officers and specialists were requisitioned from parent chapters. Captain Callius Victor, formerly the Ultramarine Second Company, was elevated to the rank of Chapter Master and oversaw the creation and training of 400 Battle Brothers over the following 2 solar decades. As Victor's forces came to battlefield readiness, the chapter assets were also assigned. Battle barges and strike cruisers arrived from Farmer Crag, along with armoured vehicles, aircraft, drop pod, dreadnought chassis, and 20 venerated suits of tactical dreadnought armour. So this army can field 20 suits of Terminator armour, which is no joke. Accompanying these war assets were thousands of chapter certs, logisticians, tech savants, ship crews, Mediocre personnel, fabricators, artificers, artisans, requisitioners, architects, servitors, and countless other supplies were accumulated from planetary tides. Ammunition was allocated, litanies were recited, and machine spirits were appeased. In the year 567.M32, Chapter 281 was declared ready to serve the Emperor. Okay, the next bits of information are usually about where they found their homeworld, and there is a whole section about where they specifically found the planet, and it's actually quite an interesting system and part of the galaxy that it's based in. But I don't have a lot of time in this particular video to go into that, so I'm going to skip ahead a little bit and go straight to them landing on that planet. What the Space Marines discovered when they landed was a world that had been forgotten by the Imperium, a mere footnote in a galaxy of 1 billion worlds. Yet, Isothrun people welcomed the Space Marines with open arms, for they recognized them as the Sky Warriors of old and great heroes to humanity. Chapter Master Callius Victor and his retinue were treated as honored guests and led to Navid, the world's principal city, where they were received with dignity and awe by the governing planetary council. The Space Marines were told the long history of Isothroma and how its people traveled from ancient Terra millennia ago, and were shown many great artifacts wrought by the planet's artisans. The Space Marines were taken beneath the city, where they bore witness to a vast library that was almost a city in its own right. Entire streets and thoroughfares were dedicated to millions upon millions of books, data slates, and cogitator information terminals. Upon these shelves lay the history of eons. The contents of the library would shape the chapter's future for a millennia to come. The chapter master believed that this world and its inhabitants had great promise. He saw the people of Isotroma were hardy and resourceful, and their accumulated knowledge was almost beyond comprehension. To the tactical-minded Victor, the collection of strategic monographs in the library were reason enough to forge Istoma as the chapter planet. With the blessing of the Planetary Council, orbital landers descended from the clouds, and construction began on the vast chapter fortress monastery atop Zathos Mountains at the planet's inhospitable northern poles. To honor the event, the Astronomers presented Victor with one of their greatest possessions, a stasis-sealed volume known as the White Book. Victor returned the honor in the naming of the chapter. Chapter 281 and its warriors would henceforth be known as the Tome Keepers. Now we jump forward into the dying years of the 41st millennium, where a trying time for the Tome Keepers. 2 centuries of war with the Necron dynasties had already taken their toll on the chapter when the Great Rift sundered the galaxy. The chapter, reduced to just over 200 battle brothers, was facing annihilation. During one particularly dismal year, the recruitment trial of Page yielded disappointing results, producing just a single successful aspirant. This was considered a sign of ill omen by the chapter. Fortunately, the badly depleted chapter received their salvation in the most unlikely of forms. Primarch Rabute Guilliman was reborn during the era Indominus, and in his wake came the Primera Space Marine, a new hope against the encroaching darkness. An Indominus Crusade Torchbearer task force was eventually sent to reinforce the battered chapter. These representatives of the newly instilled Lord Commander of the Imperium and Imperial Regent delivered a profound gift in the form of a company of existing Primaris Grey Shields, as well as the technology for the Tome Keepers to start making their own Primaris Marines. So with this information, new technology and stuff, they are currently able to field half of an existing chapter. So they sit somewhere between 500 and 600 battle brothers in the current timeline of 40k. So they are not exactly a full strength force, but they are by no means a meek Space Marine force, especially with the reinforcements and the ability to create more Primaris Marines. And that's currently where the glorious Tome Keepers lie. They are a solid chapter. They have a great history. They have a great story. And I just managed to scratch the surface of some of the amazing background information on them. So please do take my word for it. Go online, check out some more of the information on them. Check out some of the variations on their like armor patterns and stuff for sergeants and chapter masters and stuff like that. It is just full, fleshed out, rich, and awesome. Hope you guys enjoyed yet another addition to the Space Marine Chronicles series. Please do let me know in the comments below what other chapters you want to see, and I would be more than happy to oblige. Tome Keepers, big thumbs up from me. Okay guys, there we have it, the first of my painted Tome Keepers. I got to play around with their transfers and get a nice easy scheme put together. So if you guys want to follow along and get this chapter painted for yourself, I think you'll be able to do it and it won't drive you crazy. A lot of fun to do. Tome Keepers are, like I said, a very interesting chapter of Space Marines. I gave you as much information as I possibly could inside of this video, but there is so much more to do. So if you want to delve a little bit deeper and find out a little bit more, Google is your friend. You'll find Lexicanum and 40k Wiki and all the other places which will have all the sources for more information. So go check them out if you so please. Now, make sure you do the thing now that all YouTubers really need you to do, which is like, comment, and subscribe. These are 3 tiny little things to you, but they mean the world to us and the growth. I'm not just talking about it for me. If you go away and watch other people's videos, make sure that you do those things. It takes 2 seconds out of your day, but it really does make a huge difference. And if you want to support the channel even further, there's things like my Patreon linked down below, and things like affiliate links for like Element Games, which is also linked down below, where you can purchase your Warhammer or any other hobby that you want. Cost you not a penny more, but I'll get a little kickback from me. All right, guys, thank you so much for sticking around at the end of this video. I'll see you in the next one.